Name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Hey folks, um, it's been a long time. I don't even know where to start. I was thinking about making a funny intro and doing a British accent, and then I was thinking of all these backslide things that I could do, but I don't know how to do it. So I decided I wouldn't do that because I can't. Anyways, I just want to say I've missed you all. Happy New Year, happy Feast of the Nativity, coming up. I'm so excited to be back, and my sincere apologies for not first messaging um, about leaving. That was a big oversight. So basically, every year from October till the end of December is a period in the LA diocese where I go back and serve there and take a retreat during that time, and then return here. So because of it, when I was in LA, there was the LA service, and so it's just hard, of course, to keep up with everything going on in both places. But I'm back and happy to be back. Um, it's New Year, time for newness. I'm not gonna lie, for me, Nairouz is more of the New Year's for me. So the New Year on the normal calendar, or its normal secular calendar, doesn't have the same for me as it used to. But I know that in the mind of most people it does. So if we can take just a minute just to think about it, I know that most people around New Year's try and do their New Year's resolutions. I grew up where we were told not to do that. Not that a resolution is wrong, because the word resolution isn't. But what was trying to be instilled in us by our spiritual father growing up was not to make a vow that you can't keep. Whereas a resolution is not quite a vow. It's more like a solemn commitment or um, an affirmed desire to work towards something. Um, on that note, though, something that my priest did with us growing up that I actually really loved, it was that every year on New Year's, during the liturgy, he gave us all as a congregation an exercise to try to implement for the whole entire year. It it was really neat. It stuck in my mind. There's one in particular that's always stayed in my mind. It was that one year he told us that our exercise was to make excuses for anybody who annoys us. We had a rule that we had to make, or an exercise we had to make 10 excuses um, for anybody uh, who bothers us. I'm laughing because my family might remember we were all practicing it as a family. And then one day somebody cut us off while we were driving. And so I think it was my sister's like, quick, 10 excuses. So we all started shouting out excuses. And then my mom said, maybe his wife is pregnant. And for some reason, we thought it was the funniest excuse in the world. Even though in hindsight, I'm not sure what was so funny about it. It's a valid excuse that might have been happening. But what I'm trying to get at is that it was so cool that we were all participating, we're all working towards our growth, and that it was something that was public. Like it was shared. It wasn't a private asceticism. It was something we did as a whole family, and as a whole community and as a whole congregation. So it might be something to think about if you're able to do it. Obviously, um, with your spiritual teacher guides blessing. What I was thinking about as a possibility for something that we could all work on together this year is that, given that it's a time of war, um, everywhere it seems to be breaking out in war, polarity, division, where it just seems like everything is on the verge of an explosion. Everybody is on edge. Everybody is ready to accuse each other of everything. Um, it even it feels like, and I'm not throwing my own political commentary here. It just seems that the way that people are using politics today is similar to what denominational wars used to look like within Christianity. How Protestants and Orthodox and Catholics would treat each other seems to be what is since been resolved for the most part from a religious view, but is leaking now into the secular scope, and it's I think very troublesome. So in light of that, I was thinking if we could focus together on this year on Matthew 5 verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called sons of God. might be something that we could work on, especially appropriate as if we meditate a little bit on the Nativity coming up this weekend. The Lord's Nativity, his birth, his becoming man, it was an act of peace between heaven and earth. On earth, peace and goodwill towards men. It was an act of reconciliation. It was an act of God's condescension in order to bring about this peace. And I want to really focus on this condescension, this self-emptying work that results in being peace, as maybe where we could focus an exercise for the year on. Basically, could we focus on being means of reconciliation this year? Could we become peacemakers to be called the Son of God, even as the Son of God came and brought peace? And maybe just question yourself about ways that could look in different places of your life. For example, if it's at work or school, am I trying to advance myself at the expense of others? Because if so, I'm probably causing division, not peace. Do I allow or encourage or participate in people thinking things that lead to more division? Whether it's by the conversations that I'm in, by the words that I say, or the words that I omit. Is it not going up to bat when I could go up to bat for somebody, again, in a peaceful way? Am I easy to work with or for? Or am I somebody who, again, does not bring about peace? At home, am I somebody who's grumpy all the time? Am I complaining all the time? Do I attack people in any form, including mentally, and thus help towards division rather than peace? Because even our dispositions, our moods towards others affect the whole climate and whether there's peace or not. We all know when someone's in that mood of like, don't go near them. And we forget sometimes that we do that ourselves. Am I at home grumpy? We said, am I complaining all the time? And am I the person whose presence causes the mood to change because something not peaceful is expected from me? Am I the one who, like, once I walk in the room, everybody just is like, we're on edge? And do I notice that? Am I attentive to that? At church, am I on teams or clubs or groups within the community that form themselves in opposition to other things or other persons or other ideas? Am I loud and opinionated in a way that brings discord? Note that I'm not saying don't have opinions, but am I the kind that's so opinionated that it's always contentious? Do I talk about controversial or highly sensitive dividing topics? Do I have a change of mood if I'm not getting my way, or if someone that I don't prefer to get their way is getting their way? Am I angry? Do I feel entitled to things or certain treatment? I mean, all of these questions really could apply to any of the categories: church, home, work, school, anywhere. But the point is to reflect on whether or not I'm a peacemaker, and that I could be affecting that ability to be a peacemaker even with little words. Sometimes I might even be causing division in my silence. So the exercise, if your spiritual directors bless it, it can be every month, it could be every week, but mark it as a recurring event on your calendar that you work on some place that you're either not at peace in, or that you could help bring peace actively. Don't think about it just generally or theoretically. Do it actively. Think of something specific that you could do each week to practice for that whole month to help the situation, and see what change it could bring in you and others. If it's not going as well as planned, no problem. The devil's not going to applaud you on the one hand, and it also might be the opportunity for spiritual direction on how to grow in your peacemaking virtues. But try it out and see what it's like. There's a really cool story in the Paradise. I want to find it and put it up online, but about a monk who generously offered his extra cell to a visiting monk. And when the visiting monk came, he got really popular really quickly. And that really bothered the host monk. And he started getting angry. He started venting about it with his disciple. And it reached a point where he's like, I want that guy out of here ASAP. And he would instruct his disciple to do ludicrous things and say really horrific things, hoping to push him out. But this disciple acted as a peacemaker. Instead of being like, hey, you got to get yourself out of here, Father so-and-so is really annoyed at you. he would find ways to diffuse. He'd find ways to ease the tension. He'd find ways to ease the traffic. He would only relay things that were positive, never things that were negative. He went on this way for so long that when the visiting monk actually came to leave naturally, because he was a visitor, the host monk had no idea that the visitor didn't know he was angry. And the peacemaker brought it about such that even the visitor would go and thank and take the blessings of the elder. And the end of the story is that they're reconciling, they're at great peace. I'm butchering the story because I don't have it in front of me, but it was really, really epic. And I want to say there's things that we can do that we don't do. Um, and there's different ways to be it. So there's a role of the person who is that peacemaker there, as in the arbitrator. There's a work that I could do to not be like the host monk. There are sensitivities that I could have of being the guest monk. All of these characters contribute to the piece. It's not just one. And I think if we could all work on those things, focus in on something that we can practice on, it would be really good. And maybe this year could be a more peaceful year for all of us. Glory be to God forever. Amen. I didn't mean that to be a sermon, so my apologies. But just a quick word about schedule and stuff as I move back. So I just pulled up in Minnesota. So it was a last minute thing, and I apologize that it was not planned better in advance with the timing of service and things that I had on my plate in California. So I'm not going to be able to do as much in Minnesota as I would have liked if I was staying longer, but I'll be here this weekend. I'll be celebrating the feast here in Minnesota. And we'll eventually head my way back for Chicago for MYPR. Post MYPR, the first 2 months are going to be Chicagoland. So all of Illinois, and I'm counting Milwaukee in that, just because I think last year, or the 9 months that I was there, the constant moving every few weeks made it really hard to spend enough quality time with one another. So it'll be 2 months straight in Chicagoland, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with Lent. Wednesday nights are going to be the talk night. There'll be an in-person / online talk weekly that hopefully doesn't need to be played around with. That will be held online. It might be Tuesday. I'm going to double check the survey results that you guys said, but I think Wednesday was the day. And it'll be in person. I'll be having it at St. Paul's in the city, but it will also be online so that everybody in the region can log online if they want to, and participate in that way. Also, it helps me that if I'm traveling, I could still do it online from wherever I am. Wednesday after the liturgy, after the talk, every other week to start, we'll see whether we want to do more or less over time. Every other week will be a midnight liturgy. So we'll hang around church after and do liturgy. The in-between weeks, totally down to stay, chill, do one-on-ones, play games, campfires, walks, whatever it is that you're interested in, I'm game. I'm open, and I'm really, really excited about that. It'll be good to get some fellowship in together. I'm gonna be putting up a Q&A open link that I'm hoping to use to make blogs or vlogs out of, to answer some real questions, just so that the talks can also be gauged towards what you guys are actually thinking about, but also that other things can be addressed. So all of that will be on the website. There will also be a regular phone booking time for one-on-ones. I'm asking that the phone ones, as much as possible, if we can prioritize phone for the out-of-staters being out of Illinois, if that's where I mostly am, just because it's harder for people out of state to see me, but if they even want to see me. But it doesn't mean nobody from local could call, because there will also be regular in-person times. All this is going to be on the website with clarity, with booking where I am and all of that. Now that I'll be staying 2 months at a time, it'll be so much easier to get a hold of me. I do want time for hangouts and quality times, and that's why I'm trying not to commit to 4 or 5 talks a week, because that doesn't allow for us to spend time together. And thank God we have so many really good servants, really good priests, really good speakers in the city. So we're not at a shortage. Thank God for good speakers. So I'll try and have a balance of that. I'm saying that, so please don't be afraid to hit me up to be like, hey, can we just chill or hang? Some of you were doing that before I left, and it was awesome. I think some people were worried about asking me, worried that I wouldn't want to, or I wouldn't be able to make time for that. And on that note, I only post like my public services on the schedule. So if something's not on there, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily free, but try me. Like shoot me a message. It might be that I'm at a small group. It might be that I'm at a visitation. So hit me up. Don't be shy to do that. Don't be shy to do spontaneous things and stuff like that. I think would be really fun for us to do more together. Um, the best way to interact with me, honestly, is in person, especially for those of you in Chicagoland. Um, I'm looking for a way that I can separate out different types of messages so that I can get better at replying. Because right now, basically everything goes into one place. So I'm trying to find a way to filter things like that out so that anything like meeting related could be somewhere, anything like long question related, for example, might be able to go somewhere else. So I can be more responsive. So I'll always be as responsive as I can. But if you don't, that's why I'm gonna have my schedule online, because if you don't get a hold of me, find me, because I'm gonna be all over the churches all the time. And thankfully nothing's that far. Because I'm always very present as much as I can to people when I'm with them. Um, last request, I'm sorry, this is a longer video. Last request, for anyone who messaged me, and I know there was many while I was away, if you could resend messages would be great starting the next few days, just because trying to filter through all of it from the start might be very difficult. So if you could bump things up by reinitiating messaging, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm sincerely sorry for the delay. I'm sorry that it's been so long, but I'm really happy to be back. I'm happy to see everybody. I hope that you are all praying for me, and let's kick it. Pray for me. Bye, everyone.